Okay, thank you. So I'm the president at Six Nations Polytechnic is our institution's name. And we are an Indigenous institution. Actually, there in Canada, there are 3 groups of Indigenous people: First Nation, Métis, and Inuit. And we are First Nation mandated, so we operate under the jurisdiction of our nation. And so we are separate from colleges and universities in the country. But in Ontario, we worked with the province of Ontario to develop legislation so that we are now recognized as the 3rd pillar of post-secondary education in Ontario. But we have a long way to catch up. For example, our institution's been operating for more than 30 years, but we have never had stable core funding. It's always been year-to-year grant funding. So we're gradually working with both federal and provincial governments to try and get a funding framework put in place, not just for us, but there are 9 institutions like us in Ontario, and there are over almost 50 across the country of Canada. And we're all in the same situation. So I'm very envious when I hear what's happening in the other institutions, because we are very much on the other side of the technology divide, only just now starting to participate in online learning and, getting the learning platforms and so on and so forth. So I'm, very much here to connect with people who have that ability and to follow up with folks as well. I mean, we have done some great things in terms of our limited capacity. Our institution, we're the only place in the world where a student can get an undergraduate degree in our languages. We offer those languages of our own right, under our own jurisdiction. And so there are 6 languages. Obviously, we're 6 nations. There are 6 languages. Right now, we're currently only offering 2 language degrees. And the idea is eventually to have all 6, then master's and PhD programs, obviously. So we're in a really constant building mode when it comes to that. But to us, that's a huge success, because I don't know if you know our country, but I know it's been around the world as well. We very much are still dealing with the legacy of residential schools and the loss of language and culture from that whole historical process. So that recovery process that we're in, to come to the day now where students can get their degree in their own territory, in their own institution, is very much a success for us. And we're seeing other initiatives in the community around language revitalization. We're seeing more and more second language speakers emerging gradually over time. So we're part of that more collective success, we feel. In terms of our challenges, our biggest challenge, I've already sort of alluded to it, and that is the fact that we don't have any ongoing reliable funding. I know there's been funding issues here in Canada, especially. There's been a tightening up of students from out of country, because many of our institutions became very reliant on international students. So that revenue stream has been shut down significantly, and that's causing really great hardship on some of the institutions here. We are not affected by that because we weren't participating in that, but we have never had access to capital funding and grants and stuff like universities and colleges have. So we're very much at that still developing stage. So that's our biggest challenge, really. And of course, trying to be able to stay afloat on a day-to-day basis. And probably what keeps me awake the most is just making sure that the institution continues to survive, right? So I do serve as the president, but I work with, as I said, 8 other institutions in this province, and then there's institutions across the country. We're actually co-hosting a national symposium in October with a national organization called Colleges and Institutes Canada, CICAN. We're doing that. And then we also work internationally with the World Indigenous Nations Higher Education Consortium, which is an accreditation process. So, we have very much a parallel pathway that we work all the time in terms of there's mainstream education for accreditation and so on. But we have also, there's an Indigenous process for accreditation as well. So we do that both locally, regionally, nationally, and internationally, just to make sure that there's some integrity maintained in the Indigenous education activity that's going on. So maybe I'll just stop there.